with something that is much bigger than yourself. So check your ego at the door.
Oh, he looks so good. Sorry guys, just give me a second. It's the longest video I've watched of him. Just give me a second.
That's what you signed up for?
You know, well, no, I didn't sign up for anything. I just married the love.
The lack of emotion and the lack of drive that is coming out of Turning Point USA to figure out who killed him. That's what their reaction is. So like, they came to, okay, this is so unnatural, the reaction of these individuals who were so close to him, that the more logical, sensible conclusion is that they actually know where Charlie is and he's perfectly alive. Yeah. That is how absurd they are acting. Just move on. Just donate to Turning Point USA. This is what Charlie would want. And that's his legacy.
Just nickname her like the Israeli Widowmaker. Like at this point, can we just start going with that fucking nickname? I think that's gonna stick. The Israeli Widowmaker, Mrs. Erika Kirk. What do you guys think? Can we make that one stick? I wanna know what your best nickname for Erika Kirk would be. This bitch is fucking nuts. And I don't know about you guys, but Ian was right. Fucking weird, right? Who the fuck says that? Do you guys read Ian's tweet? He goes, I hope if I die, my wife waits a little bit longer before she...
The moment Erika Kirk walked into that interview, nobody was ready for what came next. With calm but loaded words, she hinted at secrets buried deep, saying she's carried stories that were never hers to tell, and that real healing begins only when you stop living a lie.
When Erika Kirk came in as leader, I don't even know how to explain it. The vibe just shifted, like instantly. And then she starts bringing in all these new people, total unknowns. No social media, no LinkedIn, no nothing. It's like they just appeared. Everyone in the office is joking, well, half joking, that they're all spooks. And honestly, it fits. So people start digging around just to see who we're really working with. And it gets creepy fast. Her mom works for some Israeli defense firm, something to do with missile systems, like the Iron Dome level stuff. Her dad literally wrote the book about how to integrate private companies into the intelligence community. And Erika, she loves to brag about her connections. She'll say stuff in meetings like, if I want to know something about someone, I can have it by morning. Mossad doesn't sleep. Then she'll flash that megawatt smile like she's joking, but she's not. Everyone knows she's not. Does she actually work for them? I mean, yeah, everyone thinks so. She's hinted at it herself. And now, the whole office feels wired, Slack channels are dead. People don't say what they're thinking anymore, everyone's paranoid, like the walls are listening. Maybe they are.
It felt calm, sincere, yet shockingly raw. And for many watching, it confirmed what they'd quietly believed all along. The fairy tale romance wasn't what it seemed. This isn't about taking sides or throwing shade. It's a Ducati-style deep dive. The kind that makes you look back at a so-called perfect celebrity marriage, only to realize one confession was all it took to shatter the illusion.
In the courtroom. How do you feel about that?
There were cameras all over my husband when he was murdered.
Including cameras by TPUSA, high-resolution cameras from the back and from the side, and we haven't seen any of that high-resolution footage, which might put to rest some of the conspiracy theories a lot of people have problems with. So yeah, there were cameras all over him, including TPUSA approved cameras.
There have been cameras all over my friends and family, mourning.
She invited cameras into her most private moments, including the creepy casket scene. So yeah, even she has invited cameras into her private life, as she claims to have been mourning.
There have been cameras all over me.
There are cameras all over you. You are a public figure, and you took the position as the CEO of TPUSA, one of the biggest financial political organizations in human history. And there should be cameras all over you, Erika. I mean, you are pushing the government's official story, and anytime somebody pushes the government's official story, and historically the official story is not the truth, the more cameras, the better, because sunlight is the best disinfectant, right?
Analyzing my every move, analyzing my every smile, my every tear. We deserve to have cameras, and why not be transparent? There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what the case is built on.
We know the government uses cameras against us every day to surveil us, to track our every movement. We also know that TPUSA is using geo-tracking tech partners to harvest data from the hundreds of thousands of people who come to Charlie Kirk to honor him at his memorial service, for example. So as TPUSA and the new CEO of TPUSA profit handsomely from the face of a dead man appearing on merchandise, it shouldn't be a surprise that the people want to surveil their government and people who continually promote the narratives of government. And I do want to mention that there does now appear to be tears forming in the eyes of Erika Kirk, whereas before we just didn't see them. And call me jaded, but that just makes me wonder what's in that thing right there. Could it be an aid to cause her to tear up? I don't know. Has she been brushing up on her acting skills?
Because when you revisit the timeline through Erika's confession, everything starts to click in ways no one noticed before. To see how her words flipped the entire story, we have to rewind to the version the public believed and the quiet signs that never truly matched. From the outside, Erika and Charlie Kirk looked like the perfect match, united, ambitious, and built on shared faith and purpose. Their image was flawless, almost cinematic, a partnership rooted in family and belief. But Erika's latest revelation exposed what those smiling photos never showed, that behind the camera-ready life, home wasn't nearly as perfect as it appeared.
We know one of the main investigative directives in any case is follow the money. And we also know one of the main investigative questions is cui bono, who benefits. We know TPUSA and the CEO of TPUSA is making a whole ton of money, which we know equates to dames with gangster rings, dangling crosses, and made-up faces walking away with piles of money. To say nothing of fame and an increased sense of power and privilege. So you'll have to forgive me if I'm not quick to believe fake stream CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media, TPUSA, the Israeli lobby, or the FBI's official Charlie Kirk's Man of Steel spine story. I guess the only question that remains is, who did it better, Erika or Tammy? Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you want to support this channel, you can do it for free just by liking this video, sharing this video with others, subscribing to the channel, hitting the bell notification icon, becoming a channel member. I will see you in the next video.
She talked about living a life that didn't feel like hers anymore, playing roles that never truly fit, showing up for a version of reality that felt staged. Her words were simple, but the weight behind them hit different when you read between the lines.
So my boy Ian over here is reacting to Erika Kirk introducing JD Vance. And I don't know if you guys have seen this clip yet, but you're gonna want to check this shit out.
Bet you didn't see this.
No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD. And Vice President JD, yes, I do. And that's why I'm so blessed to be able to introduce him tonight, because he understands the fight that we're up against, and he can articulate that in a way that transcends.
I'm just gonna say it, okay? Because I know that most people are thinking it. That's weird. That is weird, okay?
We just nickname her like the Israeli Widowmaker. Like at this point, can we just start going with that fucking nickname? I think that's gonna stick. The Israeli Widowmaker, Mrs. Erika Kirk. What do you guys think? Can we make that one stick? I wanna know what your best nickname for Erika Kirk would be. This bitch is fucking nuts. And I don't know about you guys, but Ian was right. Fucking weird, right? Who the fuck says that? Did you guys read Ian's tweet? He goes, I hope if I die, my wife waits a little bit longer before she...
It didn't sound like a woman mourning the love of her life. It sounded like someone who had been silently breaking long before tragedy struck. Suddenly, the pieces fit. The forced smiles at public events, the short replies about married life, the way they seemed more like co-hosts than lovers. Back then, everyone blamed it on stress, long hours, or media pressure. But now, with her confession echoing, people are rewatching those moments with new eyes. If the foundation was already cracking, what followed feels less shocking, and far more revealing. As clips and interviews resurfaced, one thing stood out: Erika's loneliness didn't begin after Charlie was gone. It had been there all along, quiet, hidden, but real. In her confession, she said, "Learning to comfort myself in a house full of noise." A simple line that hit deep. It didn't sound like grief, it sounded like emotional distance. Observers remembered how often she showed up to events alone, even when most came with partners. And when she spoke, it was always I, rarely we. Her tone was warm, but the closeness was missing, the kind you hear from someone who's already learned to be alone. It was as if they lived parallel lives under the same roof. What once looked like quiet shyness now reads like practiced independence. Her calm wasn't peace, it was survival. And that shifts everything. Because emotional distance doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it grows slowly, quietly, long before anyone sees it. And when that emptiness sets in, people look for connection, sometimes in the most unexpected places. When Erika's confession resurfaced, fans began scanning old footage, and something subtle stood out. Long before the tragedy, she already seemed unusually at ease around one particular public figure. Their connection wasn't loud or inappropriate, but it had a certain comfort, the kind that doesn't need words. In group photos, interviews, and behind-the-scenes clips, their energy felt synced. While others kept polite distance, Erika and this person leaned in closer, exchanged knowing smiles, and shared those small, familiar gestures that spoke volumes. It wasn't romantic on the surface, but it radiated emotional safety. No one noticed then because no one was looking for it. But now, those small interactions feel different. Emotional bonds rarely begin with grand gestures. They start with quiet understanding, with someone who simply listens. And when home starts to feel hollow, that kind of presence becomes impossible to ignore. That's why, after Charlie's passing, what happened next caught everyone off guard. People assumed Erika would retreat from the spotlight, take time, grieve, and heal. But instead, she returned to public life quicker than anyone expected, calm and composed in a way that unsettled those who had followed her journey. Her poise wasn't the issue, it was the tone of her grief. At memorials and interviews, she appeared steady, almost rehearsed. The tears were there but measured, her voice clear, not trembling. To some, it looked like strength. To others, detachment, as if her heartbreak had happened long before the loss. Online, the conversation shifted. Viewers started asking the same question. Why didn't this feel like shock? Her calmness seemed less like sudden acceptance and more like preparation, as if she had already made peace with what was coming. Even her social posts told a quiet story of acceptance, not devastation. It wasn't the lack of sorrow that raised eyebrows, but how quickly she adjusted. That calm opened the door to a new theory, one that questioned if her grief was really spontaneous or something long processed. As her interviews continued, her words only deepened the mystery. She described that chapter as a season I had to accept, saying she'd made peace with certain truths long before they became public. No one can confirm what those truths were, but it was enough to fuel speculation. Because that didn't sound like a woman blindsided by loss. It sounded like someone who had been bracing for impact all along. Some viewers saw her composure at the memorial as closure, not the beginning of grief. Others felt her choice of words sounded less like shock, and more like acceptance, as if she had already come to terms with something she couldn't stop but expected all along. These are just public interpretations, of course, not facts. But the rumor didn't die down because one final detail made everything even murkier: the silence of the two people who should have spoken first. When a public figure passes, it's usually the family who steps forward, to share memories, defend their loved one, or at least acknowledge the public's sympathy. But Charlie's parents did none of that. No interviews. No statements. Nothing. Their silence echoed louder than words. At first it seemed like pure grief. But as weeks turned into months, that explanation no longer held. Their absence started to look deliberate, almost like a choice. They skipped tributes, declined appearances, and quietly withdrew from every attempt to pull them into the spotlight. It felt as though they were refusing to play along with the story everyone else was telling. Some called it protective, a way to guard what little privacy they had left. Others saw it as quiet defiance, a sign they weren't aligned with how Charlie's legacy was being shaped. Their silence felt heavy, like it carried a truth too fragile to say aloud. And when you line that up with Erika's confession, and whispers that she wasn't the only one keeping secrets, the quiet starts to feel less like mourning and more like a boundary. That boundary is what changed everything. Because the real shift in public perception didn't come from Erika's confession alone. It came from what followed. When she reappeared in public life, she didn't look lost or fragile. She looked centered, composed, and deeply anchored to one familiar presence. The same person who had been quietly close to her long before tragedy struck, long before anyone noticed. Watching them together after the storm, the familiarity between them was undeniable. The way he stood by her, the protective tone in his voice, the ease in their unspoken exchanges, it didn't look like two people connected by grief. It looked like two people whose connection already existed, simply no longer hidden by circumstance. So when Erika later spoke about finding emotional safety outside the space I was expected to keep it in, people started connecting the dots. To many, the emotional closeness no longer came as a shock. It only confirmed what they'd quietly suspected. The bond wasn't new, it had history. And suddenly, Charlie's parents' silence took on a whole new meaning. Their distance, their refusals, their quiet absence from the narrative, it no longer looked like fragile sorrow. It looked intentional. Almost like they refused to validate a version of events that didn't match what they knew. If they had already seen the fractures in the marriage long before tragedy struck, then maybe their silence wasn't detachment at all. Maybe it was the only form of dignity they had left, a boundary in a story they never chose to tell. When you piece together Erika's calm, her confession, the long-standing emotional connection, and the parents' deliberate quiet, the picture that forms is clear. The closeness wasn't sudden. It had always been there. The silence wasn't accidental. The truth wasn't new. It had been hiding in plain sight the entire time. When you piece it all together, Erika's confession, the emotional distance in her marriage, the quiet connection forming elsewhere, her composed grief, the whispers that she'd accepted the truth long before the world knew, and the parents' deliberate silence, the story everyone believed starts to unravel. This was never about blaming Erika or tarnishing Charlie's legacy. It's about realizing the version the public saw was polished, carefully maintained, but never fully real. Sometimes what looks perfect is just a performance built on habit and expectation, not connection. And sometimes the ones who stay silent do it not out of fear, but because speaking would reveal more than anyone's ready to hear. Erika's confession didn't call anyone out or spill every secret. It didn't have to. Her words confirmed what many had quietly felt for years. The love story the world admired wasn't the life she was living behind closed doors. And for some, that quiet acknowledgement spoke louder than any tell-all could. Now the question is yours to answer. Was Erika finally freeing herself with honesty, or carefully preparing the public for a truth that still hasn't surfaced? And when Charlie's parents chose silence, was it to protect his memory, or to shield the truth no one dares to say aloud? Because this story isn't over. Not even close.